practice number 11 for Colorado Buffaloes football, even though Adam is wearing Colorado State colors. I know you're probably mad at me that I'm pointing that out, but it is Colorado Rockies, so we'll let you slide a little bit for that. But it was practice 11 today, and we got Coach Prime at a press conference, and we also got the comedy team of Shedeur and Shilo, who went together, and which was actually a lot of fun. The two of them, kind of bouncing off each other and things like that. They obviously have known each other a very long time, and it was kind of fun having the two of them together.
Well, we were talking too. It's strange, some of the stuff that really grows legs and becomes a controversy. Two players that are leaders on this football team are going to be recruiters behind the scenes. That is the way it's done in college football, and so that part of it, it was good for them to be able to address that and kind of take it head on. But no, they were great together, and I'm not hitting the transfer portal. I'm here at the University of Colorado, very happy to cover the Buffs. Never a dull moment around here, as it continues to be proven time and time again.
Well, how often in the past have we applauded recruits, and I know they're not current players, but a lot of times it's recruits that are doing a great job of helping recruiting people to their own class, right? It's the same type of deal. I remember like a Tyler Lytle, when he was a quarterback recruit here, was really big on recruiting guys into his class, and other quarterback recruits have done that. So it's really, to your point, to make a big deal out of this, and what we're talking about is Shiloh's post about, hey, defensive players, DM me. Here's Shedeur's DM. Hit him up. That's what everybody does, right? That's what players do. They want good players to play with them, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. So it is kind of funny that it's a big deal, but that was a big topic today.
Yeah, and as Coach Prime said, players are going to check the temperature. I think when you make a big step and enter the transfer portal, if you're being smart about it, if you're a player, you're going to send a few DMs and kind of figure out, okay, these are a couple places I like to go. What's it like out there? What are the players on the team, the leaders on that program saying? So it makes sense. There are a couple names. I was surprised by Alton McCaskill hitting the transfer portal. Shaman Mateer, we were just a couple of days ago talking about him after talking with Coach Bartoloni. That surprised me. I was telling you, nothing that's happened since Tuesday has been so dramatic that it would change a win prediction from me.
Right.
We talked in our video on Tuesday about this is about the big picture. Is the roster going to be better during fall camp than it was this spring?
Yeah.
Like it has improved every transfer cycle, and I still think that's probably going to be the case. It just a couple names are a little bit different than maybe we had expected when we did our last video. Crazy thing is that Cormani McClain is the one that's drawing most of the headlines as far as this, and we just had Carter Stoutmeyer walk by us not too long ago.
Yeah.
He was more impressive as a 3-star cornerback in this program as a true freshman last year.
Yeah.
And I like the sentiment that Coach Prime had about Cormani and that he wants what's best for him. The interactions we've had with him have been great. He seems like a really good young man that just has to show that he wants it, and he didn't do that here. And so it's not as black and white as a lot of people make it seem. There's a lot of gray area within this. I still think that this football program is going to have more talent come August than it did going into spring ball.
Yeah, and we know, from covering the team for a long time that, players respond to different types of coaching differently, right? And, for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Cormani with Coach Prime didn't mesh. But Cormani, that doesn't mean that, it's not going to work out somewhere else. And, we saw it. I remember, this is 2016, but remember Bryce Bobo, went early in fall camp, went to safety for a day. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And, he was, I remember he and Coach Shev, had to kind of get on the same page. Coach Shev was coaching guys all the same way, and they had to get on the same page. And Coach had to kind of change how he coached Bryce Bobo a little bit. And then Bryce went out and had a really good year. And came back to receiver after about 2 days and had a really good year. So players just respond to different types of coaching, and for whatever reason it didn't work out with Cormani. But, yeah, you wish him well. All these guys. And I agree with you. I'm not sure my win total would change either, based on what they've lost. But now it's about what do they get back at this point.
In building off your point about Bryce Bobo is you used to have to kind of battle through some adversity in college. And that is maybe the one downside to the transfer portal era is that the first side of adversity, I'm going to hit the road, and you don't really develop that ability. I was a knucklehead at 19, 20 years old. Like,
Yeah.
and you've got to learn life lessons. And sometimes it's great that players have more freedom now, and I'm not against that.
Yeah.
But I do think there is something to be said for this one-time transfer exemption coming back in and being a real one-time transfer exemption, to where, okay, maybe you picked the wrong spot out of high school, you get another chance. But this unlimited eligibility right away, I don't think it's good for the sport, and I don't think it's good for the young people that need to learn how to battle through a little bit of that adversity.
Yeah, and I think that the flip side of it, and we've talked about it before, is that it goes both ways. The players have kind of fought for all this stuff, right? And so have some attorneys general, but they fought for all this stuff. But the downside is that you're also going to get maybe pushed out quicker too, because coaches know that they can move on from you and go find somebody else quicker as well. So it's a short window to prove that you can play at your current school, and so that's what's going to be different, and everybody's got to get used to, because this is here to stay probably. And so we'll see what the Buffs get back. And Coach Prime mentioned, he said the bottom line is there's a lot of twos that are in the portal. There's not a lot of starters that go in the portal, and so you look at that and say, okay, maybe there's not starters that are going to be looking, but there's some guys that can fill out some depth on this roster and maybe push for a starting job.
Yeah, and they have BJ Green coming in on the edge. He was Arizona State's best pass rusher last year.
Yeah.
You've got Will Shepard coming in, Vanderbilt's best receiver in recent seasons coming in. So you do have some of those commitments already. Now you do have to fill out some of those depth issues. And linebacker is one that we've gone back to pretty much since DJ Lundy decided he was going to stay at Florida State, right? So that's a big one. There are holes that need to be filled on this roster. Again, it's taking a step back and looking at the roster. Every cycle, it's gotten better. And Coach Prime has embraced guys that work. Charlie Offerdahl, Trevor Woods, Louis Pastorello is still around in this program. We talked about him on Tuesday. If you're willing to put in that effort, you can make it happen here at the University of Colorado, but he's old school, and he's shown that you have to back it up with your work ethic, and guys that don't get weeded out pretty darn quickly.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the guys that are still left. There aren't a whole lot, but they're the hardworking guys, right? And so as far as the portal goes, Coach Prime did mention it'll be linebackers. He did say plural there. Offensive linemen, obviously, they've only got 10 right now. You're going to need probably 4 or 5. So it's going to be a lot of in the trenches guys as well. So we're going to see what they do there. But what were your thoughts on Shedeur and Shilo today?
They're hilarious. I was asked a question for a segment I did with Neely recently, where it's like, who is the top candidate to be a stand-up comedian in the future? And there's not another candidate that's even close to Shilo Sanders.
Right.
Just his presence and way to connect in a room is pretty awesome. And, those are moments. And to our right, Coach Prime is kind of watching with his head around the doorway. And those are cool moments. I know a lot of the people kind of throw flack on Colorado for this being so much about the Sanders, but to see those moments between those guys has been pretty special the last year and a half.
Yeah, and I think Shilo brings that out in Shedeur as well, because Shedeur, he shows his personality when he's with us just by himself, but not as much as when he's sitting next to Shilo. And so it was kind of fun having those two sit next to each other and do that together. But anything else before we get out of here today?
Well, it's not going to slow down anytime soon, right? We've got, 4 more practices and the transfer portal, and it will be I liked it last year when the roster got a little solidified coming into this summer, because that's when you can really do your deep dive with this football roster. And it's kind of unfortunate that this is the second year in a row where the spring game is going to be a little bit overshadowed by the portal in terms of there's going to be positions more in flux than you'd want for that spring finale. But generally, again, it's still like I feel like I'm taking crazy pills sometimes, because people look at this Colorado roster and they set the over-under that this isn't even going to be a bowl team this year. And I'm looking at it in comparison to things that we've covered around here before, and it's still the bigger picture looks rosier in my eyes, and maybe that's a biased account of it. Maybe it's because I'm a glass half full guy, but the roster continues to get better, and nothing that's happened since Tuesday again has really shattered any of those expectations.
The roster certainly looks better than a lot of the CU teams you and I have covered.
Not even up for debate.
Right, yeah. Right. Maybe not all of them, but it's definitely more than most of them.
I mean, yeah, I mean, pure talent-wise, again, you look at the ones, I mean, 2016 was a special season, but that was, a lot of that was grit, determination, leadership.
Right.
Just from a pure talent standpoint, this is the best team I've covered.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. A lot of time before that, but Adam and I will be back next week for more analysis.